What it do, what it don't, what it will, and what it won't. It's another Friday, which means it's another opportunity to get together and record the thing, the experience, the next level experience known as the Ball Hawk Sports Talk. Happy Friday, everybody. Like every Friday when we get together, we do it one way and one way only. It's rough, rugged, and raw. Like every Friday when we get together and record the Ball Hawk Sports Talk is where a few businessmen get together to discuss sports in an entertaining fashion. That's right. Sports, business, and entertainment collide. It's the Ball Hawk Sports Talk. Today's episode is going by the title of Trade Wars. And if you have ever experienced the Ball Hawk Sports Talk, you know we put a lot into our titles. And there's at least a double, normally triple, quadruple entendres in there. So look forward to that. We will unpack it, unlayer it, and be unequivocal in our delivery today with sports, business, entertainment. The crew is in the building. It's sports, it's business, it's entertaining. It is the Ball Hawk Sports Talk. With no further ado, boys and girls, dogs and frogs, cats and rats, anything and everything in between. Fasten your seatbelt. Pour you a nice tall mug of coffee. Spike it with whatever you will. And please like, comment, share, tag a friend, tag anyone that you know, and subscribe because the Ball Hawk Sports Talk is coming to you now. So let's go. Wake up, wake up, wake up, and stay woke. Because this is the Ball Hawk Sports Talk with your boy, B. Brown, ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hawk, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South. This is the place where sports, business, and entertainment collide. And we're going to give it to you rough, rugged, and raw. So come get you a spoonful, like some grits with butter and salt. You know how we do it in the South, y'all. Make sure you do not get caught in your feelings. Strap on your seatbelt and enjoy the ride. Come on, let's go. Once again, it's on. Once again, it's on. I get the distinguished pleasure of being in front of this microphone with this brother known as the Big Flow Show. And let me actually give him the proper presentation and introduction. He is the man, the myth, the legend. Thou who shall be intergalactically known and respected as. When you say it with your chest. Make sure you say it with some reverence and respect in your voice. He is the Big Flow Show. What's up, my brother?
It's all good in America, baby. All good in America.
So all good in America. I like that. So with today's episode, Trade Wars, and you said you start off with it's all good in America. I like that.
The universe.
The universe is calling, baby, and it's calling for us to deliver something funky today, man. I'm talking about some of that good stuff, and so we're gonna give the universe some of that good stuff. Trade Wars. When you hear Trade Wars, what do you think? Because we're gonna make it a defined term before we pivot and do our thing in sports, business, and entertainment. What do you think when you think
I'm a sports first household, so I think about the athletic trades. That's what I think about. That's what I think about.
That's the first thing you think of.
That's the first thing I think about.
And I same thing, but trade wars in this political climate has also some other meanings. And so it's exact meaning when you think of it from a political standpoint. It's when there's like an economic conflict between countries. You know, and it involves some back and forth, retaliatory trade measures, tariffs, quotas, some restrictions, and it becomes evident that we're going to use trade to negotiate favorable terms. That's what trade wars is. Mm-hmm. We saw this week how it plays out in sports, business, entertainment. We saw this week that there is its own political climate within sports. On the broad political spectrum, when it comes to the North American trade war that is going on between these United States, Canada, and Mexico, any feelings? We don't normally get political, so let's just talk from it makes you feel how? Because when there's tariffs, the prices go up. You know, we talk about the price of eggs and all of these things that are all of these lifestyle changes that we're going to make in a response to the trade wars. Anything that sticks out to you before we hop into trade wars when it comes to sports business entertainment?
Not to spend too much time on politics. I think people probably appreciate we're not too political. Um, I'm trying to take, I've got friends that are sending me text messages. I got a lot of friends that are Trump fans, and they send me a lot of text messages. So I'm just trying to approach this whole period we're going through with patience and just seeing what happens. So when the tariffs first came out, I just said, all right, before you guys going out here patting each other on the dick, let's make sure we realize that realize the
I
prices
thought it
of
was another body part as the end of that sentence.
hey,
Okay, I digress.
that's the way. When you're talking to Trump people, you got to talk like Trump people do. So you just grab them by the cooter and pat each other on the dick when things go well. If things could get real expensive, I said. So all these goals that you really had, I mean, do people really give a shit about where the products come from that standpoint? From the ultimate standpoint, no, they care about the byproduct of what things cost, what quality we have, in jobs. So right now, that wasn't going to address it. But I'll tip my hat to Mr. Trump that he threw out the little joker, and those Spades reference may miss some of you, but he threw out the little joker, and he punked a couple people. You know what I mean? He got a couple people scared.
Nobody's come with the big joker yet. I'll match you your little
Yeah.
joker with this big joker.
Yeah, so we still don't know who has the big joker, but I don't understand the thing going on in Panama about blocking the Chinese from the canal. That I haven't read into enough. But hey, if we think there's border, I didn't even know we had a border problem with Canada. That was new to me.
That's
But
news to you.
it was news to me. I didn't know that they were sneaking in shit from Canada. But if you're telling me that you think this is a problem and you're going to make the Canadians address it and the Mexicans a problem and they're going to address it, I'll give you a small. I can't make any noise, but it looks like I'm clapping. I'm not going to actually make any noise because that's way too much for Trump. But it sounds like at least in this play, he got the book. He won the book. He got 2 books. He got
I will say,
3
man,
in a possible. So they went board. I don't want to get y'all too riled up, you euchre guys, but he got a couple books out of that.
I loved every reference to that.
Yeah.
I'll say this, man, because we talk about the border issues that we're having, and my local diner is being impacted by some of these ICE raids. People not wanting to come to work because of the ICE raids in New Jersey, and regardless of whatever your political view is, that was a little disheartening, man. That people don't want to come to work, and you look at some of the funds that are being paid, like Social Security money is being paid into by some of the undocumented um, aliens, I guess is what they would call them, because they're not residents, but undocumented persons in America. So that hurt my heart. That tugged at my heartstrings a little bit.
It's gonna be a problem. I've been seeing work sites, people walking off of work sites. What you realize is how many people are doing really good work. I think that again, we probably spent more. We're only 8 minutes, so
yeah, we never
give it
do
another 30 more
politics, but
seconds.
it's worth
But
having.
I will say this is, I think we're gonna realize really quickly that the crime rates are not going to drop that much, and there's going to be a lot of people walking off jobs. We're going to realize the overwhelming majority of the people here illegally were doing noble causes that were positively impacting a lot of Americans. So, yes, there are some jobs that they were undercut. We'll see what happens with those because now the prices will go up for other things. But you're realizing that every day when you go out, there's a lot of jobs that the illegal aliens were fulfilling, that now there's not gonna be somebody whose job they supposedly stole. When you go to those things, there's not gonna be somebody working there tomorrow. You're just gonna have slow work. Those people building houses all over the South, there's not gonna suddenly be a bunch of workers that were sitting at home waiting for a phone call that are gonna start building. Shit's just gonna get really expensive and really hard to get built. And then you're gonna be like, damn, why is the crime rate the exact same as it was before? I'm just gonna say that's my prediction.
Only time will tell. But that is my prediction as well in terms of the lack of correlation between crime rate and the crackdown on undocumented persons. But that tugged at my heart at the diner, and it was very slow one morning. I'm like, where's everybody at? And the waitress looked at me. She's like, a lot of our workers are afraid to come in. A lot of people who were working on job sites that would normally be in here spending money, they're not coming in anymore because they're afraid of ICE raids. So tugged at my heart. But I digress. That's as political as we're gonna get.
You know, the scary part about that is when you can't go out and make money honestly, they're not going to starve.
That is the other part I was gonna say about crime rates. Like, did we just? Is it like the
You take people,
chicken and egg?
you
Dare I
scared someone
say?
out of a respectable 9 to 5. That said person isn't going to starve.
No,
So
they gotta figure it out.
they're going to figure something out.
Right.
Now maybe ICE will get them too, but in the short run, they might be lock your doors.
Right. Yeah, but it tugged at my heart. So anyway, as political as we're gonna get, and let's pivot because trade wars is not just a political term. While there are some very political aspects to it, we saw this week that trade wars also applies to our content, sports, the business thereof, and the entertainment there too. And it started with the NBA. The NBA trade deadline came with some fireworks. And we'll go in reverse order in terms of the size and impact of each one of the trades. I'll start with Andrew Wiggins going to my Miami Heat. I know that you have said, and my man ETP would allege that Andrew Wiggins was not a superstar. But there were 5 names that
if you say he's a superstar, then damn it, he's a superstar. We've established that.
I'm not relitigating this.
Your criteria ranks supreme.
I'm not relitigating this with you, man. You're trying to not doing it. You're trying to bait me into I'm not doing it.
I need to be fly fishing.
Because then we're going to be here another 20 minutes on Andrew Wiggins. No, I will say that he's one of the several names that was used in former All-Star players playing close to All-Star caliber basketball that were traded. I'll say that. He's one of those names. So Andrew Wiggins will be in Miami. I don't know the impact there, but really the story there is they got, Miami being my team. We were able to get rid of Jimmy Butler. Brandon Ingram, who is still injured, by the way, of the Pelicans, will be with the Toronto Raptors. I think that is amazing because, that's with Scotty Barnes, you've got 2 players athletically that are like, not too many players that have ever played in the NBA are as athletic as Scotty Barnes and Brandon Ingram. So we'll see how that plays out. Jimmy Butler will be joining Steph. Steph got him some Jimmy Butler. Do you think that moves the needle? Golden State. I live in the Garden State. Golden State was on a path towards nowhere. And it looked as though we were going to see the end of Steph Curry, who is on the tail end of his prime, but still puts up some godly numbers and still demands that you play almost a full 94 feet worth of defense because he can shoot from anywhere. It looked like all of that was going to be for naught. This was going to be a throwaway season. And at his age, you can't just keep throwing away seasons.
How old is Steph Curry?
Steph's got to be, 36? I don't know. I should look that up.
Hey, Alexa, how old is Steph Curry?
But more important than that, you get now 36. I was right.
36. You're right.
You get a Jimmy Butler who is definitely capable of some big moments. Mm-hmm. Definitely capable of shouldering the lion's share of creating shots on offense, who definitely still plays some pretty solid defense. Does this move the needle for Golden State? Jimmy Butler joining Steph Curry. Does this move the needle?
I mean, it has to. I think as much of a first ballot Hall of Famer that Andrew Wiggins was, I think that Jimmy Butler, might provide a little bit more. I think it takes the pressure off of him. And I think when you go back to the dynamic that they had when they were winning championships with the KD, is when you just add another player that can take over. And I think what I liked about the team when they had KD is everyone took over their own game, and there was always somebody waiting in case they was their turn to step up.
Right.
And because we know how, if they can get to the playoffs, we know how Jimmy Butler performs in the playoffs. Now he's a much better player. I think that I think taking pressure off of Steph Curry is hard to do. You got rid of Klay Thompson, so you're down a shooter, a monster shooter. I think bringing a guy who can attack the paint, attack the basket the way that Jimmy Butler can. I think that's a good dynamic to have. You know what I mean? And he's going to take over. He's going to do something. And the thing I like about Steph, and I feel like he has a reputation where they try to say it's his team, it's this that. I thought what made things work out so well with KD was the fact that Steph relinquished the reins to him. He allowed him to come and be the man without the ego. And when you have someone with the ego the size of Jimmy Butler playing with some egoless guys, I just hope that Draymond doesn't slap him.
I would love to see the first day that they have their, because you're going to have
It's gonna happen.
disagreements.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see the first disagreement because one of them got to draw the line in the sand, and I think it's going to be Jimmy. Jimmy's going. I mean, Jimmy was ready to fight Pat Riley. Like Jimmy is not for the faint of heart.
Pat Riley can't throw the mitts like Draymond though.
Fair. You would assume not in his 70s that he can't do that anymore. But I don't know, man. I like Jimmy Butler, and Jimmy Butler did so many things for the Miami Heat franchise. While Jimmy Butler only knows one exit strategy, he does not leave peacefully. It's nuclear wherever he leaves. Wherever he leaves, that's his play. Whoever his agent is, I'm assuming his agent has to be Suge Knight or some cancerous being, right? Because he only leaves one way.
Tony Soprano, yes, yeah,
right? Like you only leave one way, Jimmy. There's no, and Jimmy could have had a statue, basically, one of them ugly Dwayne Wade statues, mind you. But he could have had a statue.
Well, yeah, the little one.
The little ones. But that's just the impact that Jimmy Butler has had. We went to two finals that we had no business being in. And Jimmy Butler was the reason. Now, if we would have won one of those, then it would have been for sure a statue ready for Jimmy Butler. But Jimmy Butler is, if you think of just the impact of the Heat organization, he's top 3. Not top 4, because you got to put LeBron in there. But top 4 all time impact on our franchise. And that's the way he leaves. So, I was disheartened by that, but you got to respect Jimmy. I don't know, though, this version of Jimmy at this point in his career with the backcourt that is underwhelming on the defensive side with Steph Curry. He's a liability every time he goes out there defensively. I don't know if this moves the needle. For those who are watching a live recording of it, please let us know. What do you think? Does this move the needle? Jimmy Butler to Golden State. Steph Curry gets another Robin to his Batman. Will this be the tandem that could get Golden State over the hump and make some splashes in the Western Conference? Right now, they're only one spot out of the play-in. They're 11. Right, you've got the big dogs they're up top, and then there's some parity in the West. So they're only 4 games out of the 6th spot. There's some parity in the West. The Lakers at the 5 spot at 30-19. You would imagine that them adding Luka and now finally getting a center to help out with that, you would imagine that the Lakers should be playing well from this point forward, or somebody's job is going to be on the line. But does this move the needle for the Warriors? Have we seen the end of prime Steph going into the playoffs, pulling tricks out of his magic bag, and making a late run in the playoff picture? Let us know what you think. Does Jimmy Butler move the needle?
Yeah, if you could take the pressure off Steph and let him be a shooter and a sometimes take to the basket guy, help him on defense a little bit there, I think he still have a lot. He still shoot. The logo is not getting any closer to the basket. So if you still have to shoot the ball, you have to play defense at the logo from him. I think you still got a player there. Draymond, you wonder, what does he have left if he's doing there? I think with Klay Thompson left, I think that was just a chemistry killer.
Yeah, and it says a lot about the role that he played. The other big trades is you got Zach LaVine going to Sacramento. I just have a theory in life that I don't ever get in depth about the Sacramento Kings. Ever ever since Vladi and Chris Webber left, Sacramento has not been worth talking about. But that is a big
And we're
pickup for them.
barely
And
worth
then
talking about when they were there.
yeah, they were. They made a push, man. They made a push. De'Aaron Fox playing against, or excuse me, going to San Antonio and playing with Wemby. Now we're talking. I think De'Aaron Fox has been one of the best guards in the NBA for the last several years. But because he's been in a place that no one talks about, Sacramento, we just never talked about it. Now he's going to a place that everyone's talking about and joining a player in Wemby who is box office. The Warriors are in the 11th spot, 1 out of the play-in spot. The Spurs in the 12th spot, 2 out of the play-in spot. Do you think this moves the needle for San Antonio to add a dynamic scorer who can create off the dribble, who is a bucket waiting to happen, and who loves to play a two-man game with a big man who can finish on the lob? Do you think De'Aaron Fox moves the needle enough for Wemby to finally get to the point where, not
I
finally,
love this world. I love that you use the word finally. He's a second year
finally
player.
in the sense that, bro, they're saying that he might be one of the best ever.
Yeah.
That's a big statement in the NBA.
Can he get a couple years? How many years did it take Jordan?
Fair, but he hasn't put a pinky toe even close to the playoffs. And
His second season. Stop talking like that.
Still, he hasn't come close to it. They were one of the worst teams in the league last year. We're one of the best players. And we put a lot of pressure on players that we hold in that high regard.
There's only one person who instantly took a team from trash to great, and his name is LeBron James.
Which team did he take from trash? The second iteration of the Cavs or the first iteration? Because the second iteration had Kyrie on it.
The first iteration, they were making playoffs right away.
Yeah, they had Z. They had some players. It's not.
I'm saying they got to pick LeBron because they were what? The worst team in the NBA.
Well, they were in the lottery. They won the lottery.
They won the lottery.
Not necessarily the worst team in the NBA when the way they do it. But yes,
they were worse adjacent, at least, right? And so then they made the playoffs. What, his second year, if not the first?
I don't remember what year it was. I can't. Don't give. You want me to do a discography on LeBron's? I can't do that.
I'm gonna do. All I'm saying is Jordan's teams were trash for a while he was there, scoring all kind of points. Give Wemby a chance. I mean,
does this move the needle? Do we see?
Absolutely.
You do. You think that adding Fox puts them in a playoff picture, meaningful playoff picture, because they're at the 12th spot now.
It moved the needle. You would think that the needle, there's only a few spots out of the playoffs, so you would think that the needle had to get you
a few spots out of the play-in. Not.
I'm just saying, there's only a few spots in the NBA. You had to be real sorry not to get to the play-ins. Like, you know what I mean? There's only so many teams that don't.
San Antonio last year.
Yeah, real sorry. So yeah, does it make a move towards play-in? Yes, sir.
All right.
At least in the right direction.
And then we save the granddaddy for them all when it comes to the deadline. And the granddaddy of them all is Luka. Luka going to LA, AD going to Dallas, has been called maybe the biggest trade in NBA history of all the years, of all the trade deadlines that we've had, of all the players that have moved. And what at one point seemed like a theme of consolidation. The big three here, the big three there, the big three there. Despite all of that, this is considered mid-year maybe the biggest trade in NBA history. Never have two NBA first team guys, all NBA first team guys, been traded for one another during the year. That's never happened. And both are all-stars. Both are playing well when on the court. Both have had some injuries this year. Luka's still coming back from his. What do you think about this trade, graded from both a Lakers standpoint, a Mavs standpoint, and then we're going to get into the nitty gritty because there were some things that were not mentioned. There was some information that was not divulged. There was some strategies that were deployed here that could be considered some really interesting political maneuvering on this episode of Trade Wars. When you think of the two sides and how this was orchestrated, the politics behind this was very interesting as well. What say you in terms of this trade? Let's grade both teams.
I say
What
you got to
got?
look at it in a couple ways: short term, long term. Long term, it's a head scratcher because just of the pure age, the demographic that Luka brings, international.
He's in his prime. He's 25. He is
Yeah,
Mr. International.
a white player. You know what I mean? That's like obviously
You said right or white?
white.
White.
There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, like
There's nothing wrong. I
marketability.
thought you said right player. You said white. All right.
White
He is
player,
white. He is
international
white.
player coming in, young, whatever. Like most NBA teams would kill for somebody like a Luka, you know what I mean, from a marketing standpoint, you know, in today's climate. So that long term, short term, I could see it. I mean, from Dallas' standpoint, I could see it because if you watch those Dallas games, which I don't claim to watch a lot of Dallas games, but when I do, there's too much time Kyrie standing around doing nothing because there's really nothing to do because he's a ball dominant player, and you've got Luka who's 1-on-5, right? And
Right.
he's just sitting there. So when you have Anthony, who's the ultimate sidekick, right? He's ready for the ball when you give it to him. He's going to do something with it, but he doesn't have to be. He can be a 10-point guy. He can be a 40-point guy. Whatever you want, he'll take it. And he doesn't have this super. You never hear him complaining that he didn't get the ball,
No, you're right.
So he's doing that. So I think he's a much better addition for Kyrie for there. So for the short run, I think this gives Dallas a better chance at a run than they did with Luka. And that if Anthony Davis could stay healthy. So, we'll go there. You do question where the story, there's got to be something behind the story. I've seen things questioning whether or not he has an alcohol problem. Although it's weird to see someone have alcohol problem and their drink of choice is beer. Like that just seems like it's weird.
I mean, we saw him drinking a beer. We don't know if that's his drink of choice.
Well, it just seems like every time they're mad at him for doing something, he's drinking a beer. Like, you know what I mean? Like most people have a problem. They drink gin or scotch. You know what I mean? Something stronger than beer. But there was the scene last year where Michael Finley took a beer out of his hand.
Yep, after a big playoff win.
After a big playoff win, and he kind of looked dumbfounded. I don't know too many superstars that just take that. He took it, so it must be an issue that he's whatever. So it could be a lot for nothing. He has had to wait.
We don't know that, and so
we don't know that. We don't know that. But what I'm saying is, these people are not that stupid. So long term, it's a terrible trade in the long run when you think about the longevity of a star in Dallas and what he could have. So my point is, there must be something there. They say he's 30 pounds overweight. They say that he starts the season in shape and gets fat. That's weird as hell to me. But like, he gets fatter during the season. Yeah. You got to try, don't you, to gain weight during the season?
So you're a Dallas fan, right? Hypothetically. Right? I know you're not a Dallas fan. I'm saying just bear with me in the hypothetical here.
Okay.
You're a Dallas fan, and we've seen the reaction. Some of the fans have gone viral for their emotional outburst that this man should have had a statue in front of the building, and you trade him in his prime, 25 years old, a global figure, icon from a basketball standpoint. He showed what he can do on the international stage, and he's shown what he can do here in the NBA. And 25 is the new 18 when you think of how long LeBron is playing and how the longevity has increased a bit with players' sophistication and taking care of their bodies. You're a Dallas fan. They trade Luka, and you're thinking what? Because you got to grade him. And then we don't have to be hypothetical. You are a Lakers fan as long as they have LeBron. So then we'll get to the Lakers. But on the Dallas side, what are you grading your team?
I mean, in the short run, next 2 or 3 years, I think it's a decent trade. In the long run, it's kind of a head scratcher. But
you think it's a decent trade because you think Anthony Davis
and Kyrie
will
be a better dynamic than it was with Luka and Kyrie. Yes.
But why?
Just because of the type of players. You can't. It's hard to have two ball dominant guys without having one dude sitting there with his thumb up his
But
butt.
they did well enough to get as far as you can get without winning at all.
Understood that. Understood. But my point is, Anthony Davis is capable of putting up as many points as Luka for in a different fashion. So Kyrie you can get more out of Kyrie in the
He
complementary
ain't scoring
fashion.
70, but I get what you're saying. You know, on
Did
average,
Luka give you 70?
Luka gave us 70. I think that's his high. Luka gave us 70.
I missed that game.
Yeah, I'm almost certain Luka's got a 70 pointer
I
in
was
him.
sick that day. I didn't go. Okay, so within reason, 70 points is amazing. I think Luka is going to be long term a monster as long as again we don't
73
know.
to be exact. 73. Sorry.
Jesus Christ, my bad, Luka. No, damn. My my man, 73.
He
Yeah,
put 73,
how
fourth
many Kyrie
highest
had that
ever
game?
in NBA history.
How many Kyrie had that day?
I don't know how many. I think this might have been pre-Kyrie. I don't know.
Pre-Kyrie. So I don't know. I just like the idea of inside outside game, and being able to play. And I think that Anthony Davis is super dominant. I mean, in the NBA, super dominant offense, defensively, unless he's playing against the Joker. Defensively, he's dominant. So I think he helps you. Luka's zero negative defense. Like his defense is the opposite. Like your
He
scoring
helping the other
average.
team.
If you're playing against Luka, your scoring average should go higher. It's terrible. You know what I mean? So I just think in the short run, I bet you there's going to be a big push as long as Anthony doesn't twist a toenail tomorrow.
Yeah. When he had 73, yes, this is pre-Kyrie.
Kyrie.
Kyrie's not in the lineup at that point.
So he was like, what, 20?
I don't know who they traded for Kyrie, but somebody else was in that mix. It was not Kyrie.
I think the Lakers are the ones who you have the bigger question mark.
All right, so let's get there. You are a Lakers fan, and you hear this trade. And Rob Pelinka is getting a lot of credit for being able to do what he did. And some might say it was less than above board in how he conducted his business. You're a Laker fan. LeBron is post-prime, but still putting up crazy numbers. And occasionally those numbers include a triple-double. He's still an unstoppable force. He still takes pride on the defensive end. He's still a world-renowned mega superstar that's going to fill seats. And now you take his Robin, and arguably sometimes AD was the Batman and LeBron was the Robin. They sort of switched roles occasionally. But now you bring in Luka, who you have accused of being an alcoholic, potentially, allegedly. But
let me stop. They, meaning the internet, said that there may have been an alcohol problem.
Laker fan, what do you think about this deal? You got rid of AD to bring in Luka, who is very ball dominant, who is questionable on defense, who is questionable in terms of the offseason and taking care of his body and staying in shape, who is questionable in terms of his locker room demeanor and getting along with other players. You bring in that Luka, who is 25, who might be a little disgruntled because of this move. He's missing out on some close to $100 million, something crazy.
180 million.
$180 million. Has every reason to be disgruntled. Because $180 million, you don't just find that in the parking lot.
I found similar amounts in my shoe.
As a Lakers fan, what do you do? What do you grade your team? How do you grade your team on this decision?
All right, so if I look at this from a Lakers standpoint, all right, short term, you didn't get better, right? You didn't get better in the short term. But you have to be looking at this Laker team. Although were they 30 and 18 or something like that?
30 and 19, I believe.
I mean, so they,
so they're in the hunt. I think they're fifth in the East. Excuse me, in the West.
West. So they're doing. In the short term, it's questionable. I don't know how they're going to make it work. In the long term, it's very good, right?
8-2 in the last 10 games. So they've gone on a little bit of a run.
Yeah. So without AD and without Luka, AD was out. He got some toenail fungus or something. He so I think so in the long run, you have Luka to come be your next face of your program because LeBron's got 1 or 2 left, and we figuring out Bronny James is just bring your kid to work day right now. So I think that to bring Luka in, and then when you think about Luka's issues, um, I mean LeBron couldn't get AD to work out, but if Luka decides to let LeBron mentor him and start doing some of the workouts LeBron has been doing and change his body, get himself right, I think Luka will be better off in the Lakers than he was in Dallas. So there's a lot of positives there. I just don't know that we're going to see them in 2025.
You just also acknowledged that LeBron's got 1 or 2 years left. So, as a Lakers fan, knowing that that's probably true, unless he continues to defy all logic, why make a move that's predicated upon 3 years from now when LeBron's only got 1 or 2 years left?
Because they weren't going to win anyway.
They're 30-19, bro.
They are, but this NBA is better. LeBron is still a star in this NBA, but he's not winning a championship.
You don't think he's going to win a championship?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's already
I'm always
going
to say Lakers in 6, but I'll be lying sometimes.
Then there's the part of Rob Pelinka. Rob Pelinka has been, at this point, documented because Danny Ainge confirmed it. Rob Pelinka got he got 2 draft picks that he used in the trade to get Luka that he never divulged he was going to use to get Luka. Danny Ainge said that he was unaware that he was instrumental in making this trade happen until it was too late. Do you think Rob Pelinka gets, and you almost can never do another deal with the Utah Jazz while Danny Ainge is the president, right? Rob Pelinka, the GM of the Lakers, sort of pulled the wool over Danny Ainge's eyes. Lakers fan, are you happy about that? We got a shrewd businessman at the top getting these deals done at by any means necessary, or is this now something I think is a stain? And now that the Rob Pelinka way of doing business has been revealed, puts the Lakers in a position where every time you call somebody, I'm like, nah, he up to something. I don't like his angle. Not gonna do business with him.
I don't know. I mean, do I owe you that? Like, let me say this: if the trade I offered you, because that's almost like pocket watching, right? If I offer you, I'm going to trade you this Notre Dame helmet I have behind me for your St. Thomas Aquinas helmet, and you think that's a good trade. Does it matter that I'm gonna get a Chiefs and a 49ers helmet for that in the background? Am I cheating you somehow? Is that on you? You
No,
don't have nothing to do with that.
there's a gentleman's agreement that you divulge the information, so because that might influence my willingness to give you those 2 picks. The 2 picks associated with no one are just 2 second-round picks. The 2 picks associated with a part of a deal that are instrumental to get Luka to the Lakers are very different when put in that context. We could at least agree there, right?
I'm going back to pocket watching. Is people start getting crabby? I don't know. Oh, shit, what you gonna get? Now I want more. Your eyes getting big. Look, man, when I traded to you, you thought this was a good trade. That is a good trade. That's what you had to offer. Luka doesn't play for you. AD doesn't play for you. You have these 2 picks. And what did he get for the 2 picks?
Initially it was about the guy who the Utah player, I can't think of his name. They quickly said that he's not in play. And so I think Rob Pelinka in a unique way made Danny Ainge feel as though, okay, well, this is a concession. I'll take these picks. And it was don't quote me on the exact details of it, but it was a red herring. It was a pump fake that Danny Ainge fell for. Be clear. And Danny Ainge has admitted that. Longtime Celtic, probably won't do anything to help the Lakers. And now
That's
the
why. I
trade
mean,
wouldn't
that's
have
your.
happened.
I
What
I
we're
had to, I
calling
had to
the
work within
biggest
your
trade
your
in NBA
confines and your
history.
biases because you have hate in your heart. I had to work within that. That's not you made me do this because you hate the Lakers. You made me do this because you don't want to see me be great. You do this because you hate LeBron and you don't like Reggie Freeman being right. That's why you did it. So you brought this on yourself. And if we don't ever make a trade again, church, fantastic. Who cares?
Very fair, but I don't think it's just the Jazz now. Everybody that Rob Pelinka calls is going to be questioned. Like, yo, what's his angle? But they got to the trade. We'll see what happens. I did want to touch on before we left this whole idea of the NBA deadline. Dennis Schroder has been on 4 teams in 48 hours. He is now finally, I think, settled with the Detroit Pistons, and a lot of conversation has been had about his conversation. Essentially, what he said was, this whole trade thing with the deadline is modern day slavery. And he said this because he was essentially like, yo, we can be in this city on Monday and be in another city on Tuesday. We've got no say so about it. And while the teams are trying to get the players to be team first, we're moved around like pieces of chattel. And he didn't say pieces of chattel. He specifically said it's like modern slavery. And every few years, there's a player that uses slavery or uses we're going to war as an analogy to their on the court or on the field experience. But here, a player has done it in a very interesting way during a very interesting time. This episode is called Trade Wars, and we know the political um, context behind that statement, trade wars. To hear modern slavery when we're at the height of this political tension, race has been now the core of a lot of these political conversations. DEI has now been put in the forefront of our political ideologies. And for Dennis Schroder to call this trade deadline and the movement of players and pieces here, there, and everywhere modern slavery, there's been an eruption in terms of the reaction to that. And how dare we not discuss it here?
Andy
You
from
hear modern slavery.
Andy from Germany. So he's over there. Come on, man. Here's the problem I have. I've always had a problem when people make that they characterize athletics and slavery. There are some similarities where you say, oh, you got guys with their shirts off, standing around, looking around, voluntarily dreaming about the day. If slavery, imagine if they had took those ships and they'd have got all those young brothers and sisters and brought them over here and paid them $200,000 a year when they got here. There would be lines at the shore to take this voyage. There would be people saying, hey, this shit's dangerous. I got to do it though, because there's great life over there. So stop trying to find a way because you had to. Poor you, motherfucker. If I pay you $30 million a year, I don't give a shit if you had to get your kids out to school and all that kind of stuff. Leave them there. You got all the bread you got so much money. If you don't want to do it, don't quit. Stand on your square. Stand on business and say, I refuse to be a slave. I'm taking my name out of this. I'm a slave. And talk to me in 20 years when another slave walks up and says, thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Schroder. I'll take this position. So don't do that. Stop it. It's
He did
unfair.
water it
It's
down.
disrespectful. He tried to water it down and say we're grateful and do whatever. Just keep it out of it. Why don't you just say, it's just really unfair how we don't have say in this. And it's really unfair how we can just be moved around and ripped around. And I know we make a lot of money, but you know what? It does rip our families and we're connected to these communities and we had to go, and it's just unfair. And we should probably make a change to how it's done. That's a conversation piece. We can go with that.
And not every player is at the mercy of the team.
If you're going,
there are players that have no trade clauses. Kevin Durant didn't want to go to Golden State for some reason and was the
they don't have
biggest
any good barbers over there.
But Kevin Durant was the biggest impediment for him getting to be traded to Golden State. So some players do have no trade clauses, so it's not across the board. But I kind of understand what he's saying. even if he didn't use the best word verbiage,
You just lose me. But you're
slavery as
lost.
just
You
a
can't. There's
term.
certain words that make you lose people, and then people shut up. They're like, ah. And then you know what? The NBA said we're going to trade you 4 times. You don't even get when you get to the airport because like, not so fast, buddy. You taking your ass over here. I
But
kind
then,
of think
but didn't that kind of corroborate his statement though?
nah, it
Like,
tickled me. I feel like that was the NBA saying, "Shut your ass up."
I
To
mean, they
me,
moved him around like
four
a
times in 24 hours or 48
community
hours.
property in
Yeah,
48 hours,
yeah,
which kind of corroborates what he's saying, but also
yeah.
shows at the
Cool.
end of the day,
Quit,
you ended in
then quit.
Detroit, you're gonna get paid handsomely. It's anything but slavery.
Yeah, you
But
go to Detroit.
I get where he's going with
Quit then. If you don't, if that's the problem with you, quit.
it. Fair. The NFL honors, man. It was last night, and we've got some awards. Let's go through them in reverse prominence order. Because there were some awards that were handed out last night, and those were awards that we need to talk about. Is there any one of them that surprised you? Let me do the NFL Honors Awards. I guess we could start with I don't want to say that's least significant because you had the Walter Payton Award, which is pretty a big award.
Who won that one?
It was. Oh, let me look. It was. I mean, there are a lot of finalists. Each team has a finalist for that one. So let me look at that one. While I'm looking that up, what do you think about Josh Allen? Because that's the big one, right? Josh Allen
Well,
went.
these
No, we
these
can go reverse order. I got it now. The Walter Payton Award went to. It's not coming up. I don't see it. So instead, let's go with the comeback player of the year. Went to your boy Burrow, Joe Burrow.
I like that. I like that. Joe Burrow had a good season, and I think he was, he broke his something. He missed. He was my fantasy quarterback the year before, and I had to go with
That's
Tua.
a bad year to have him. When he had
Yeah,
a bad year. I'm sorry, Jaguars defensive lineman Eric Armstead won the Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year award.
I don't know much about Eric Armstead except for he was committed to Notre Dame at one point before he switched up and went to Oregon. So I don't mess with him too much. So I don't know what he did.
I like that. You gonna get
That's
former Lions offense coordinator Ben Johnson was named assistant coach of the year. And you had
I hope he is that guy because that's what we have running the show over here in Chi-Town.
Chi-Town. Coach of the year went to Kevin O'Connell with the Vikings. I don't know how you could pick anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, your first round draft choice gets hurt, and you take a guy who people think was a throwaway guy and give him MVP conversations. Pretty good job.
Great job. Defensive rookie of the year went to Jared Verse.
I don't know.
I thought he did a good job this year.
Who was he
Played
with?
for the Rams.
Oh, yeah.
Became the team's first winner of the award since Aaron Donald in 2014. Always good company to be in when you say Aaron Donald. Offensive rookie of the year, not even close. Jaden Daniels for the Commanders. First player to win it since RG3 in 2012. They had very similar years in terms of their impact on the season. Happy that Jaden Daniels didn't end his season with injury like RG3. But great season. Defensive player of the year went to the Broncos, Patrick Surtain.
Yeah, he's saying he's the best DB in the NFL, so give it to him.
First cornerback to win it in 5 years, and he had that type of dominance throughout the year. Offensive player of the year went to Saquon Barkley.
Who else could get it? I mean, he's a
Barkley
goon.
had 35 out of the 50 votes. The only
I'm
other
mad that
player
they
that's
didn't let him break the record because I think he probably would have got MVP.
yeah of the league. The only other player to have double-digit first place votes was Lamar Jackson, who we're going to get to in a second. Then you had Derrick Henry, Joe Burrow were third and fourth, and then you had Josh Allen also got one vote, so he was fifth. Offensive player of the year. The MVP, the granddaddy of them all, we talked about Lamar Jackson coming in second for Offensive Player of the Year. And I thought, interestingly enough, people who were voting for the MVP had a decision to make. And some of them punted on that decision by choosing to give Lamar Jackson the first place vote for the Offensive Player of the Year, but not giving him the first place vote for the MVP of the league. And so, as it stands, Josh Allen won the MVP, getting 27 out of 50 first place votes to Lamar Jackson's 23 out of 50 first place votes. And by doing so, um, you know, he's in rare air, meaning he wasn't first team all NFL. Lamar Jackson was, yet he won the league MVP. Last time that happened was John Elway back in when Joe Montana won. When Joe Montana won offensive MVP. What do you think about that reality? That he's in rare air, having not been first team all NFL, yet winning the league MVP. Does that say something about the merits of him winning it?
I think we get nuanced in the language here, right? So you think the most valuable player, like, okay, well, if it's supposed to be the same thing as the first team all pro, if it's supposed to be, then do we even need it? Like, do we even need the MVP? Or should the MVP finalists only be the first team all pro guys? Like, should that be a rule? Should that be a criteria? You have to be first team all pro. Like, you can't be MVP of the finals of the NBA if you don't make the NBA finals. I know it sounds stupid, but you know what I'm saying? Like, that's part of it, right? So that's why
there's only two other players. I messed it up. There's only two other players that do it, and it comes in the quarterback position each time. That won the MVP without being first team all pro. I said John Elway won it, but the first team all pro was 1987 was Joe Montana. And then it also happened when the Titans quarterback Steve McNair won MVP. But in 2003, he won MVP when Peyton Manning was first team all pro. Those are the only other two times it happened.
So my point is, I think that it's nuanced because a lot of people are saying that although statistically, Lamar Jackson dominated Josh Allen in every category except for rushing touchdowns. They're saying, you know, with the addition of Derrick Henry, it hurt it because, you know, MVP is one of those awards you say if this guy
it hurt it, not hurt it HURTED. He didn't say hurt it. He said
hurted it. No, so I think what happens is people look at that and say, all right, well, if you take Lamar Jackson off the team, Derrick Henry did so much to win the games. He was such a big part, which is the reason why Lamar Jackson didn't have more rushing touchdowns than Josh Allen.
Yep.
And Josh Allen meant more to his team, and that's why they kind of go for it. But I think when you do that, we could go to a lot of teams. You could throw the stats out the window and start saying, how good would so-and-so be if they didn't have this player?
Right.
You know, how good would this team be without that player? I mean, then you got to give it to Mahomes. I mean, like if you're just gonna say like importance to your team, then to Mahomes, he took his team to the Super Bowl because I do think that he got hurt.
He gets hurt by Andy Reid. His accomplishments get undermined by his coach.
Andy Reid. Yeah, but I do think that the loss of the head-to-head game in the playoffs sealed it, right? For some people, and said, all right, we're going to give it to Josh Allen since they beat them in the playoffs. I am right.
And there's a man that dropped his tight end, literally dropped the ball.
Dropped the ball to do whatever they did, whatever. But I think the MVP in NFL and NBA is starting to become to turns. It's starting to come down to turns. Whose turn is it? We got to give it to him. If we can justify giving it to Josh Allen, let's give it to him because we've been talking about it for a while. We've wanted to give it to him. He's kind of close. He beat Lamar. This is fine. Let's give it to him. It's his turn. I feel like the same thing happened with Joel Embiid when he won it, and he had no business winning the MVP that year. Should have went to the Joker again, but it was his turn, and we've been talking about him for a while. We may have slighted him in the past, so it's his turn. So it is much to make of nothing. I don't know if there's a financial stake, but either one of those guys make money off of that, and I get nothing, so I don't care. So
I agree with you, and here's why I hate it. That it is really it's politics. I hate that because we're going to use those same awards when the conversations start
we'll go.
happening about legacy. The LeBron versus MJ debate always hinges upon these awards that, if we're being truthful, both of them should have several more awards, but we decided it was someone else's turn. There was an entire decade where MJ could have been the MVP every single year. And a lot of people just had their turn, other megastars, during a time from a business standpoint that the NBA was trying to make it more international, trying to have more superstars to fill seats, trying to make sure that the big city teams had marquee players to increase the overall value of the product that was NBA. And the business end of it hurt the personal accolades and the awards by the individual. And I do think it makes sense to say it was Josh Allen's turn, because Josh Allen's turn, I think, also bolsters the overall value of the Buffalo Bills, a blue collar city that is notorious for its fandom. Bills Mafia has gone through the highs and the lows of what it means to be completely in on a team and have your hearts ripped out. But it's a blue collar team that I think is indicative of what the NFL wants to be. And so yeah, it was his turn. But there's only two other players in NFL history that have done what Josh Allen just did: win the MVP without being first team all NFL. So it says something. But shout out to Josh Allen. Congratulations to him. Of course, I wanted Broward County MVP, Lamar Jackson, but it didn't happen. Josh Allen, what you can say is maybe Lamar Jackson was more deserving, but you cannot say with a straight face that Josh Allen definitely did not deserve to be in strong consideration with the season he had. So congratulations to him as well. I did want to hop into quickly the Hall of Fame before we get into the Super Bowl predictions. Smallest Hall of Fame class with 5 inductees in a long time. What do you think about this class of inductees?
I don't know if this is reactionary. Last year, Deion Sanders had a complaint. Maybe it was last year, if not the year before, saying that the hall is getting a little too big, and then they may have like a sub hall, maybe a starting 11 on the hall, and maybe there's a different color jacket some people need to get. But he said it's getting too big. In some ways, I agree with him. Where it's like, okay, do you say, all right, we need to put 10 guys in every year, and you start scratching and scraping? You take for it. So I guess my question, I start to wonder when it comes to MVP or to the Hall of Fame classes. Take a guy like Sterling Sharp, who got in this year. Like, what made him get in this year that didn't make him get in the 25 years he's been eligible to get in? That
Right.
all of a sudden this year he's eligible. I'm
I'm
not
sorry.
saying
I
he's.
said, yep.
I'm
Go
not
ahead.
saying he's not a great football player. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. But that's where you start to get into question, like saying, like, if you don't make it on your first couple ballots, like what happened now that made it? It's Sterling, and I'm picking on him just because he was a great football
But you
player
look at his numbers. Sterling Sharp is one of the more difficult ones.
because he was the
And I
best
know
receiver in
Michael
the game.
Irvin was in a similar situation, but he had played a little longer because during his career that was shortened because of injury, his numbers were second to none.
He was the best.
And so, yeah, his career was shortened by injury, but I mean, pound for pound, while he was playing, he definitely had Hall of Fame numbers. And I'm sorry, I said 5 members, only 4 members in this class. You got Antonio Gates, who I think we all knew was going to be first ballot.
Fantasy
Eric
player.
Allen, who's had to wait for a little while. Jared Allen, the amazing defensive end, who, although doesn't have as many sacks as Terrell Suggs, got in what Terrell Suggs did not. And then wide receiver Sterling Sharp, we were talking about. Those are the four. And it's the smallest class since 2005, which that was the last 4-member class. Dan Marino, Steve Young, Fritz Pollard, and Benny Friedman. All of these are current players. I don't think they have any legacy or whatever they call the older players. I think the Sterling Sharp induction makes sense, to be honest, but I get where you're coming from.
I just think, okay, so for instance, it's a small class. So if they don't bring him in, it's a 3-person class. So it's like, do you get in? Again, I hate to sound disparaging to a great football player. Trust me, this dude's better at football than I've been at anything in my life, right? So I don't want to sound like I'm dogging him, even though he played for the Packers. But, he was probably the best receiver in football till he hurt his neck. And I think that you just look at it, but I still say, like, he hasn't played a snap in the last 30 years. Like, there's a bit of, okay, so you just put him in now because it's like, well, shit, who we got? All right, man, we got 4 people this year. Who do we put in? Let's put Sterling in. Fuck it. But you had a chance to put Sterling in 100 times and decided not to do it.
In his 7 seasons, only Jerry Rice caught more passes.
Yeah.
And had more touchdowns.
7 is a lot, though, for him not to have made it, I guess. Like, I just wonder why he hasn't made it yet, because Baselli made it in 4 years, 5 years, something like that.
And that's the other thing. There's no consistency. Like, is longevity a part of the criteria or not?
Absolutely.
Right. So, I don't know.
Otherwise, Billy Sims would be in there. I don't think he's in there. But I just I don't have a problem. I just scratch my head saying, like, it's almost like there should be a window.
Right.
Like, if you don't get in, you got 5 years to be eligible, and then you got 5 more years to get in. And if you don't get in, you don't get in the Hall of Fame.
I like that. Eli Manning did not make it in. In this episode of Trade Wars, would you trade Sterling Sharp for Eli Manning? 2-time NFL Super Bowl champ.
And against the GOAT. So you got to say, who did he beat? He beat the GOAT.
Would you trade it? Would you trade, if you had to trade, would you trade Eli Manning for Sterling Sharp?
So Eli Manning is another one that you had to sit there and I'm going to say this. Okay, he's kind of has one of these careers that's kind of cuspy. Like, he was a solid quarterback, except for those 2 Super Bowls. He was a solid quarterback, right? He wasn't his brother. He wasn't thought of as one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He was really solid, and he won 2 Super Bowls, which, other factors to winning a game than just your quarterback. But he won 2 Super Bowls. He had a really amazing play, which the catch was better than the throw, to kind of preserve a come from behind win. So you're like, okay, if he didn't get in the first ballot, he really wasn't good enough. So are we gonna keep waiting until he wears us down and wears us down and wears us down, and we start thinking, yeah, all right, go ahead, let him in. You know what I mean? It's like he waited in line at the club long enough to come in. Now, you know what? It's 2 o'clock in the morning. The club was only open till 4. We're gonna let Bobby in. He's been sitting out here waiting in line this whole time. You know what I mean? Like, is that what we're doing with the Hall of Fame? Because Eli Manning is top of mind, popular enough. If he didn't get in the Hall of Fame this time, he's not a Hall of Fame quarterback to me. You know what I mean? The body of work isn't going to change.
What I think what they're saying is, and look, that's the beauty of the voters, is they don't have to tell us their mindset. But what I'm reading from it is, while the Super Bowl performances were great, we can't invest all of our vote into that, because Eli Manning never led the NFL in a single standard regular season category other than interceptions.
Yeah, he's a pretty good quarterback that won 2 Super Bowls. Right?
But what I think this vote says is winning the Super Bowl, while important, and figuring out people's Hall of Fame status and their what you would consider merit for being there, while it is something that you consider very similar to what we were just talking about in terms of longevity, it isn't an end-all be-all. Because if anyone is trying to make the case for Eli Manning, the first thing that they're going to say is Super Bowl. They're not going to say the statistics, and because it's a team sport, because so many players have made it into the Hall without necessarily being on Super Bowl caliber teams, you think that I guess the voters are trying to a certain degree, neutralize that as an end-all be-all consideration. Miles Garrett is a
Phil
first
Simms
ballot
in the
Hall
Hall
of
of Fame?
Famer. Miles Garrett, and that just breaks my heart. Trade wars. I probably should have started with that. Miles Garrett has been asked to be traded from Cleveland. When it rains, it pours as a Cleveland Browns fan. But Miles Garrett, if he retired today, is first ballot Hall of Fame and hasn't even sniffed a Super Bowl. And so I guess this vote says we're going to consider Super Bowl performances and whether or not you took the ring home. But I think they're qualifying that as a factor by way of this decision. Luke Kuechly was another player that didn't make it in on the first ballot, which that shocks me. I thought Luke Kuechly, in this episode of Trade Wars,
Luke Kuechly should have been Hall of Fame.
I probably would trade Jared Allen for Luke Kuechly.
Okay, so I just looked it up. Phil Simms is 100. He's not in the NFL Hall of Fame. He won 2 Super Bowls with the Giants, the big marketing leader, whatever. And he's not in the Hall of Fame, and it's too late, right? I just think, to me, like, you're either a Hall of Fame player or you're not. I don't know how time spent away from the sport makes you more of a Hall of Fame guy eventually. I just think, to Deion's point, if you're a first ballot Hall of Famer, there should be a different group, a different color jacket, a different, like, a different room when you get into Canton, because everyone else is getting it because they've been in line for a long time, and I have a problem now. Right. There's a travesty of people who are first, like the fact that T.O. isn't a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think B.Y. should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think that maybe it's the first 2 or 3 seasons, but like, if you don't get in,
all these classes should be small, because now that you've done that, the travesty of a Terrell Owens, now it's like, I think you got to almost start with the understanding that everyone has to wait, because you made one of the greatest wait. But I digress. Let's get to Super Bowl predictions, man, and then we're going to get out of here with some boxing. Who you got winning, man? Philadelphia Eagles are going to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. I feel like we've seen this movie before, because we have. This Philadelphia Eagles team has Saquon Barkley. This Philadelphia Eagles team, I think, has not one but 2 great receivers that can stretch the field. We know what Jalen Hurts has done this year. He adds a different wrinkle to their running game. Do you think Philadelphia, the Eagles, do you think the Bird Gang can dethrone Patrick, my homeboy, Andy Reid, and the machine that is the Kansas City Chiefs, that all they do is win Super Bowls? And to be the first team to ever win back-to-back-to-back on a three-peat, do you think this Eagle team, do they have enough? Can they do it? The entire world seems to be cheering for the Eagles or rooting against Taylor Swift and the saga that we will see. Do you think they can do it?
No, sir.
You going Patrick, my homeboy, to win it?
Final answer, yes.
Close game?
Yeah, yes. As long as it doesn't come down to a damn 4th and 1 for the Eagles to go ahead and win, because can't nobody stop that damn tush push.
Are you buying that the referees have been a little more favorable to Patrick Mahomes and his interests?
I plead the
5th. Don't plead the 5th on this one. We got a halftime show that's going to be happening. In this episode of Trade Wars, it seems like the rap community is trading their love for Drake and now giving it to Kendrick. I would even argue that because this is New Orleans, this game is happening in New Orleans, they've traded their love for Lil Wayne, for Kendrick. They ain't like us. They ain't like us. Kendrick Lamar won, I don't know how many Grammys the other day, but he's like 4th in line rappers, Grammys of all time. This has been the year of Kendrick. However, there's been an uproar of people in opposition of Kendrick being the marquee performer in this halftime show. People saying they will not watch the halftime show because it is Kendrick. Meanwhile, I'm assuming Drake will be somewhere far, far away. American Health Association said that the Not Like Us beat is perfect for CPR.
That is
American Heart
probably
Association, rather.
one of the funniest things I've read in a long time. So just so we don't blow over what he's saying, they're trying to give you the beat of how you should do chest only CPR, and they're saying they ain't not like us, they not like us, they not like us. That is a perfect beat to save a
101
life.
beats per minute.
Who did that? What are the was that a DEI hire that made that that made that decision to put that out there? Who at the American Heart Association is down with rap beat?
That is hilarious. That is hilarious. But it shows just how, in this episode of Trade Wars, how people will trade you in quickly. I mean, Drake could do no wrong. He seems to officially have been traded because this, and you know, the song "Not Like They Not Like Us" is going to be the feature of the halftime performance. A diss record being the highlight of the biggest show in America and arguably in the world, such that they don't even pay the performer. Your payment is that you are the highlight. You're the show. That's your payment. And what comes with that? And in the center of it is a diss song. Do you think that we officially have traded Drake? Is he the new Ja Rule, man? Is he gone? Is his
I think they
15
should come
seconds
out. If I
the
was
last
Drake
one?
right now, I would come out with a collab with Ja Rule just to be funny.
We both we both need this for the culture.
Just do it for the culture. Come out
It
with
is
no.
interesting.
I think this has a lot to do with the Trump tariffs in Canada. I think that we officially put a 20% tariff on Drake. I feel like, you know what I'm saying, if he wants to, maybe Drake should invest in protecting the borders and keeping fentanyl out of America, and he can come back. I haven't seen him. Does he live on Earth
He's a
anymore?
casualty of the trade war.
Is
It's
he
the
playing a
Canadian that
basketball game? He literally is at the house. Like he's
yeah.
not. Is he? You
Sometimes you
think
gotta
he
lick
might
your
have?
wounds,
Is he
baby.
undocumented? Is that what it is? He doesn't
Sometimes you gotta lick your wounds. But I will say this:
hide from
in
ICE.
the
Drake,
same
it's safe
year,
to come outside.
in the same year
We
that
love you.
Beyonce, the Beehive, took home country album of the year. It is some people in the same year that we're hearing DEI be blamed for everything. Beyonce wins a
Was
country
it a
album of the
DEI
year.
award now? Is that what we're saying now? Beyonce got her DEI Grammy? Is that what we're talking
All I'm
about now?
saying
Is that what we're doing?
all I'm saying is in that same year, people are just uneasy about Kendrick Lamar being the marquee of the Super Bowl performance. Get over it, folks. I hope Kendrick kills it, man.
You're not like us, man.
I hope he kills it. They not like us. And they ain't like us, the Ball Hawk Sports Talk. So we ask you guys, like we do every week, please humbly like, comment, share, tag a friend, tag a foe, tag anyone you know, and let's get out of here with this. Will be our Ball Hawk Spotlight moment. Because we know Ball Hog Sports Talk is where sports, business, and entertainment collide. The other place where sports, business, and entertainment collide seems to be the Paul family. Canelo Alvarez was all set to fight Jake Paul. The powers that be have told him essentially, you do that, and our 3-fight deal is up. And so wisely, Canelo Alvarez has decided that he is not going to fight Jake Paul. He's going to trade him in for a real fighter. Do you think this was the right move for Canelo Alvarez? And in terms of trading for a real fighter, he's talking about fighting either one of the twins, or he's going to come up with he's going to have a real opponent here before he ultimately, in September, I think he's supposed to fight. Yeah, on September 13th, he's supposed to fight Bud Crawford. Was this the right thing for Canelo Alvarez to do versus fighting Jake Paul on Netflix, which would have broken the internets? Do you think this is the right move for his career?
I mean, for his pocketbook, no. He probably made a lot of money doing that, but I respect the hell out of him, man, because Jake Paul is making a mockery out of boxing, right? He keeps putting fights together and fighting 75-year-old men and doing what he's got to go do and giving them paydays and fought Anderson Silva. He's just making a mockery for people who need a payday. And I think Alvarez is taking a stand and saying, I fight boxers, man. I don't fight clowns. I kind of wish he'd win and beat the fuck out of him, but the weight difference to me is a little bit high, though. I mean, because what does Canelo typically fight?
Canelo's, I think, fighting at 160. He's in the
Yeah,
160.
and this fight was supposed to be at 200 pounds. So I think that there's like you know, that's too much. Boxing, he is a decent fighter. I'm not gonna say that he's not. Jake Paul's a decent fighter. But you can't fight somebody who's that much lighter than you. Jake Paul, go fight a current heavyweight. You're a heavyweight. Go fight a current heavyweight.
I think Jake Paul's still going to eat off this. He's going to say that Canelo Alvarez ducked him, and the circus continues. And if I'm trading anybody, I'm trading the Paul brothers for just about anybody who's going to give us something more than substance. And the power, the money behind the real fights that Canelo Alvarez is signed up for is the one who pulled the plug on it. He's like, look, man, you ain't finna fight no YouTuber. You need to fight real fighters. And so,
And there's
hence
nothing.
the
Let's
trade.
say he does find a way to get beat or snubbed or finds whatever. Nah, that's terrible for Canelo's career, his legacy. Go keep fighting. You got enough money. You can stand on business when you got a lot of money.
Canelo's 34 and fighting Bud Crawford, who's 37. It's just interesting in boxing, your prime's a little later, right? Whereas the NBA trade deadline, we saw a lot of people who we thought were past their prime, and hence prime targets for being traded. Boxing's a little later for your prime. This has been real cool, man. Trade wars. I know that a lot of people, if you joined us late, we started off with the definition of trade wars, and it is just an economic conflict, right, between countries that involves a cycle of retaliatory trade measures, and one that has been discussed ad nauseum over the last several weeks when we look at North America. But in sports business entertainment, it is also very timely with the NBA trade deadline. So what a great show.
My spotlight moment I'm gonna throw out. Have you heard of this Reynolds family out of South Bend?
I have now, but I had not before you brought them to my attention.
I sent you a clip yesterday, but wait, there's more. So the Reynolds family of South Bend, Washington High School. Daddy played at Western Michigan. Mama played overseas. We didn't know that back at this video. The son is like a junior, number one player in the state of Indiana. 3 girls, goons. All of them will be playing for Purdue next year. So that's unbelievable. I never heard that. Come to find out, they got 3 more kids at the house. All of them could hoop. So they got mama, daddy, and 7 kids. Daddy's the head coach of Washington High School. Mom's the assistant coach. You can't even eat your eggs without shooting free throws.
Shout out
So
to
this family,
the
in 10 years from now, this family is going to be the most famous basketball family. The Balls, sit your ass down. It's going to be these Reynolds people, man. And, I like they got a little South Bend actually coming from humble beginnings.
straight up, man. All 3 of the older girls will be playing for Purdue this year. So that in
Right.
itself, or
Next year,
season,
this year. Yeah.
next season.
Yeah.
So that in itself will be must see TV. My ball hawk spotlight moment is Hall of Famer Marshall Faulk was hired as the new running back coach in Colorado. So Coach Prime figures out how to
Keep
get these
himself for the
Hall of
meeting.
Famers to take what is probably a pay decrease, right? Just going on appearances as a Hall of Famer would warrant more money than being a position coach in college. But imagine that, man. As you walk in the
Marshall
running
Faulk
back
is
room
George.
and your coach, right, whether it be the defensive line room and your position coach is Warren Sapp, or the running back room and your position coach is Hall of Famer Marshall Faulk. So the saga and the entertainment that is Colorado Buffalo football continues. With that, man, this has been a great episode. It's called Trade Wars. We ask you humbly, like we ask you every week. Please like, please comment, please share, please tag a friend, tag a foe, tag anyone that you know, and please subscribe to the YouTube channel and the podcast. This week has featured 2 businessmen getting together to discuss sports in an entertaining fashion. My man, the Big Flow Show, coming to you from the Middle Coast. And I am your boy, B. Brown ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hall, a.k.a. the Mountain South, a.k.a. Mr. Accessible, a.k.a. Breezy, a.k.a. Councilman Brown, a.k.a. Coach Bobby, a.k.a. a man that is honored that you guys continue to support us. And with that, we is out. Peace.